Good evening. I'm Steve Lacey.
And I'm Natasha Verma. Welcome to this special Fox 5 Flashback, where we look back at some of the biggest stories we covered through the decades. We kick things off in 1992. Woody Allen, New York's most beloved filmmaker and actor, accused of sexual assault.
Just weeks before his new movie Husband and Wives was set to premiere, we learned that Woody was having a relationship with Mia Farrow's adopted daughter.
Our Rosanna Scotto broke the story wide open, making headlines not only here in New York, but around the world.
Got homework. I'm dating a girl who does homework.
It was funny then when Woody Allen spoke those lines in his film Manhattan, but now some are not laughing on the streets of Manhattan. The 57-year-old filmmaker and his longtime lover Mia Farrow broke up, and now Allen confirms he is having an affair with Farrow's adopted daughter, who's 21 years old. In a written statement, Allen says, "Regarding my love for Suni, it's real and happily all true. She's lovely, intelligent, sensitive woman who has and continues to turn my life around in a wonderfully positive way." But that's not what Mia Farrow's mother believes. Over the weekend, Maureen O'Sullivan's publicist spoke out on her behalf against Allen.
This is a cheap shot from a desperate and evil man. As Mia's mother, and speaking for the rest of our family, it has been tragic to watch what she has gone through for the last 7 months.
Woody and Mia have been together for 12 years but never married and kept separate residences. Allen is now suing Farrow for custody of the son he had with her, plus their 2 adopted children. He says their breakup and the lawsuit has nothing to do with his relationship with Suni. Allen says going to court was the last thing he wanted to do. Farrow has a total of 11 children. The Korean-born beauty was adopted by her and second husband conductor Andre Previn. Suni Previn is currently taking classes at a New Jersey college. Over on Manhattan's east side, where Woody Allen and Mia met, the owner of Elaine says Mia Farrow should not be so upset. What do you think about the relationship with Mia's adopted daughter?
Well, it's just like what Mia did with Sinatra. It's the same thing, the same age difference. Whatever makes everybody happy, let everybody enjoy themselves.
They say art imitates life. Woody Allen has certainly mastered that. In his upcoming film, Husbands and Wives, he's set to play a professor who falls in love with a college student.
I'm older than her father. Can you believe that? I'm dating a girl wherein I can beat up her father.
Woody Allen's fight with Mia Farrow for custody of their 3 children took still another sad and sorry turn. He accused her lawyers of extortion, demanding $7 million to hush up allegations of sexual assault. But Fox News has seen a videotape that seems to support those allegations. Rosanna Scotto has our exclusive report.
Fox News has viewed a videotape which was allegedly photographed by Mia Farrow in early August. On the tape, Farrow questions Dylan about an alleged incident with Woody Allen in their Bridgewater, Connecticut home. The tape seems to support Farrow's allegations of abuse. The child seems nervous and shaken. We are not going to show you that tape because attorneys for Allen, Farrow, and a New York judge have asked us not to. In Connecticut, state police confirm Woody Allen is the target of an investigation involving sexual abuse, a complaint filed by Mia Farrow. In the small town where she has a modest home, Fox News spoke exclusively with the children's nanny as she left the store after buying the newspapers for Mia.
It's been like a shark attack. We were talking about it yesterday. It's just, it's been coming in from every side. And the children, they're holding up well because they have each other. And the family is a very special and strong family.
What about the allegations that Woody Allen allegedly sexually abused Dylan?
I cannot comment on that, but I can say that, we're heavily depending on justice right now, and, we'll let the law take care of it.
Mia and Woody have been lovers for 12 years but never married or lived together. He admits he's now having an affair with the 21-year-old adopted daughter, Suni Previn, but says that the affair has nothing to do with their breakup or the battle for custody of their child, Satchel, and the 2 adopted children, Dylan and Moses.
Several days ago, attorneys representing the other side called a meeting with my own, informing them that any publicity, even if the allegations are totally unfounded, would hurt me. They then proceeded to demand $7 million, saying that if I submitted to their demands, they would not press the allegations and that they could make my children unavailable to the authorities.
Farrow's attorneys released a statement saying Woody has his facts all wrong. that Connecticut authorities initiated their investigation before Allen filed his custody suit. Allen's custody suit is the card his lawyers are playing in an effort to deflect attention from the ongoing investigations of his conduct. There was never any demand by Farrow's lawyers for $7 million or any other sum of money.
She's a very moral woman. There's no way that would ever be possible.
One of Mia's daughters echoed the feeling.
And I just want to say she's the best mother, and any statement saying that she's unfit to be a mother or anything is completely ridiculous. She's the most fit mother I've ever seen, and that's it.
Woody Allen's fight with Mia Farrow for their children could be one of the biggest, ugliest scandals of its kind ever. Now Woody Allen may be facing still another investigation, and we have a follow-up to last night's exclusive report that made headlines around the world. A videotape of one of the children involved. Rosanna Scotto reports.
Just one day after the very private Woody Allen went public denying Mia Farrow's accusations of child abuse, Fox News has learned that the investigation into the alleged sexual abuse of Mia Farrow and Woody Allen's adopted daughter has widened from Connecticut to right here in New York City. Sources tell us that the Manhattan District Attorney is now looking into the allegations of child abuse. When we called the DA, their office had no comment. We've also learned that the Department of Family and Children's Services is investigating too and interviewed the child and both parents. We've also seen a videotape in which Mia Farrow photographs and questions her daughter Dylan about an incident of alleged sexual abuse involving Woody Allen. The tape was made just one day after the alleged incident. Dylan seems teary-eyed as she describes what allegedly took place in the attic of their Bridgewater, Connecticut home. Dylan indicates with gestures what she claims happened. We will not give you any more details out of respect for all parties. One of the other children named in the custody suit, 14-year-old Moses Farrow, told the Boston Herald, "Dylan is very upset because she's very close to her father. I am angry that he's even trying to get custody of us. I don't like what he did to my sisters. I feel that he took advantage of our trust." We've received late word from our source that Mia Farrow and her children have finally spoken to Suni after 1 month of silence. Suni is Mia's adopted daughter, who Woody Allen now says is his lover. Suni was told she is loved, missed, and always welcomed home. According to our source, Suni said she will be coming home soon. Rosanna Scotto, Fox News.
Coming up, our exclusive one-on-one with Mia Farrow.
Can you ask that question?
The dramatic sit-down interview you won't see anywhere else. And later,
it was originally estimated that the entire project would take 10 years and $1.3 billion to complete.
the issues facing the city then.
Tenants, I think, feel that the only place they can get a crack at inflation is by beating on the landlords, because in this city, the city council and the city administration has always been responsive to tenant requests and not to owner requests.
When this Fox 5 flashback returns.
Welcome back to this special Fox 5 flashback. Before the break, we took you back to 1992 and one of the biggest stories that rocked New York and Hollywood. Now the follow-up to it all.
In the exclusive interview you're about to see, Rosanna Scotto goes one-on-one with Mia Farrow for a dramatic sit-down interview.
This is the day Mia Farrow found out that Woody Allen lost custody of 3 of his children, Dylan, Ronan, and Moses.
He said that you coached Dylan. Did you ever coach Dylan into making up the accusations of sexual abuse?
Of course not. No, I mean, Dylan was speaking spontaneously and I grabbed a camera, and it is clear, I mean, the judge has seen that tape, that the child is speaking. There were times when I was even interrupting her. She's speaking from her own heart, and it's a very upsetting tape, and it's obvious to anybody who sees it that there's no coaching there. Even Mr. Allen knows that. First of all, he knows Dylan, and you can't coach Dylan into anything. And second of all, it's obvious from the quality of what she's saying, from the urgency with which she's saying it. I wish. Oh well.
Knowing what you know now, would you have ever dated Woody Allen?
Can you ask that question? Of course not. I regret the day I met him, and in the middle of the night, I wake up and feel guilty for bringing him into my family, where we, all of us, the children and I, trusted him absolutely. I trusted him with all of my children, with the things that are most important to me in life, my children. I trusted him that he would behave always as a responsible adult, at the very least, if not as my partner. If we had had a marriage certificate, he would have been my husband, and therefore on paper the stepfather of these children. And he always said that marriage is just a piece of paper. We didn't have that piece of paper, but we had a marriage-like relationship in every way. And as such, he was in my home as my life's partner, with access to my children and encouragement from me to be attentive to my children. I would have rather cut both my arms off than have had to tell Dylan that her father was sleeping with her sister, or had become Suni's boyfriend. That's what her therapist made me tell her. In April, this was 3 months after his affair with Suni was discovered by me. 3 months later, Dylan knew that something had happened between Suni and Woody, but she didn't know what. She knew that Suni was crying, she knew that I was crying, she knew that Woody was no longer in the household, but she didn't know what had happened, and I was told to tell her that Daddy had become sort of like a boyfriend to Suni. Now, what mother would want to say that to their child? That was verbatim what the psychiatrist told me to tell her. I would have given anything not to have had to tell her that.
Rosanna tells us to this day, Dylan Farrow stands by those accusations.
Meanwhile, Woody Allen is still married to Suni Previn, and together they have 2 adopted children.
Still ahead.
$800 million tax dollars have poured into the Transit Authority's 63rd Street subway tunnel over the past decade and a half.
Along with more taxes, some New Yorkers are also being told they'll probably have to pay more rent soon.
Sound familiar? The issues then, still issues now. When this Fox 5 flashback comes right back.
For this next flashback, you can say what's old is new again.
Take the MTA and our subways, for example. As you're about to see, some of the same issues decades old are the same issues we're talking about today.
$800 million tax dollars have poured into the Transit Authority's 63rd Street subway tunnel over the past decade and a half, and it's still a tunnel to nowhere. Well, now TA officials are on the spot. If the tunnel is ever to be used, they need more federal money. But first, they have a lot of questions to answer. Chuck Curry has the story.
Senator Alphonse D'Amato, who used his influence to withhold $75 million in federal funding for the 63rd Street Tunnel and the Archer Avenue subway projects, convened his Transportation Appropriations Subcommittee in Federal Plaza today. He said the purpose is to ensure that the city's taxpayers receive a dollar's worth of value for a dollar's worth of funding.
The American taxpayer has a right to know that those dollars are going to be used prudently and wisely. And what we're saying very clearly, not only to the MTA but to other agencies, if you want federal dollars, you had better be sure that they're spent properly.
In his prepared text to the subcommittee, the chairman of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority reminded the panel that the 2 projects plus the 2nd Avenue site are all that's left of a massive plan devised in the mid-60s to add 11 new routes and 40 more miles to the subway system. The earmarked federal funds could only be used for new projects as the old system deteriorated. D'Amato grilled Kiley about whether a 5-foot thick steel I-beam was structurally sound after it was shaved 14 inches to allow trains to pass beneath it. Kiley says his office is cooperating fully.
That I'm as anxious as anyone to ask probing questions and to get solid answers. It's not only important for the structural integrity of the 63rd Street Tunnel, but as you suggest, it goes to the broader question of how we're managing our overall programs.
It was originally estimated that the entire project would take 10 years and $1.3 billion to complete. 16 years later, D'Amato says about $1.5 billion has already been spent for 3 disconnected holes. Today, State Comptroller Edward Regan placed much of the blame on a then newly formed but thinly staffed MTA board and an underdeveloped, disorganized transit authority.
In your opinion, does the MTA and TA have the technical capabilities, the management capabilities in place, and the organizational structure to undertake that multi-billion-dollar capital reconstruction program?
No.
With the MTA embarking upon a multi-billion-dollar capital improvement project, much of it in federal funds, Senator D'Amato seeks stricter financial accountability.
What the bill that we're going to propose that I believe will be enacted into law will say is that you must demonstrate that you have the management capacity, the qualifications, the quality control before you get the federal dollars.
Chuck Curry, Channel 5 News.
From below ground to above ground, and the ongoing issue that the rent is just too high.
Check out our reporting from more than 4 decades ago, the year 1980.
Along with more taxes, some New Yorkers are also being told they'll probably have to pay more rent soon. And that latest news is just too much for most of them to bear. So today, a lot of people decided to fight City Hall.
Many of those who came to City Hall today to talk about the heat were left out in the cold. There were not enough seats in the council chamber to hold all of those who wanted to attend, so some of the more than 400,000 apartment dwellers who might be affected were turned away. Inside, the council began consideration of Bill number 724. Introduced by Mayor Koch, the bill would grant a pass-along of fuel costs to tenants residing in rent-controlled apartments. Often the meeting was interrupted by jeering tenants who shouted out complaints that the city had become a pawn to greedy landlords. The spokesman for the group representing the landlord said, "It's always been the other way around."
Tenants, I think, feel that the only place they can get a crack at inflation is by beating on the landlords, because in this city, the city council and the city administration has always been responsive to tenant requests and not to owner requests. So it's their shot at getting a handle on the inflationary spiral that we're all called to face. Why is it that that the landlords can afford to deal with the higher costs, but the tenants cannot? Where's the line?
They have more money than we do. It's very simple.
Next.
To support the giant bridge towers, airtight caissons of timber and iron, each half the size of a city block, were sunk in the riverbed.
It's the history of the Brooklyn Bridge.
The Brooklyn Bridge is arguably one of New York's most iconic landmarks.
Construction began in 1869 and was completed in 1883, spanning across the East River, connecting Manhattan and Brooklyn.
We're flashing back to 1983 for the bridge's 100th birthday celebration.
100 years ago tonight, the skies over the East River were ablaze with the biggest fireworks display anyone then had ever seen. 14 tons of fireworks, rockets, shells, fountains, and fire balloons popped and blazed. Earlier in the day, the President of the United States, Chester A. Arthur, led the host of dignitaries assembled to honor the efforts of 2 engineers, John Roebling and his son, Washington Roebling. Their achievement was being hailed as the 8th wonder of the world. A look further back in time tells why. It was 1814 when Robert Fulton introduced steamboat service on his ferry line from New York to Brooklyn. But hard winters often left Fulton's ferries locked in ice, unable to shuttle the residents of the nation's 3rd largest city, Brooklyn, to the biggest, New York. Those ice gorges created a demand for German-born engineer John Roebling's answer, a suspension bridge, similar to 3 he had already built in Cincinnati, at Niagara Falls, and in Wheeling, West Virginia. But Roebling died of tetanus in 1867, just after getting the okay to proceed with his dream, leaving his son Washington to complete the bridge. To support the giant bridge towers, airtight caissons of timber and iron, each half the size of a city block, were sunk in the riverbed. They were filled with compressed air so the workers inside could dig out the river bottom. As stone masonry was piled on top and the caissons sunk lower, the men began suffering mysterious crippling ailments as they came back to the surface. Then it was called caisson disease. Today it's known as the bends. It killed several of the 20 men who died building the bridge. Washington Roebling himself was stricken with caisson disease in 1870, and for the next 12 years had to supervise the building of the bridge from his Brooklyn home, relying entirely on his wife Emily to write and transmit orders to his staff. As the bridge continued to rise, newspapers speculated about Roebling's sanity and questioned the safety of a bridge being built on the orders of a woman. Robert Silman is a structural engineer, a teacher of architects, who never fails to take each class to the bridge he loves.
There was a lot of opposition to this woman. There were times when they wanted to remove Washington Roebling as the chief engineer of the bridge because it was said that he wasn't really doing the work, she was, and she wasn't competent. This was beaten back every time. And you know, in the end, of course, they were very successful at this thing. Both Roeblings were very much aware that it was America's destiny to become an industrial giant, and that this was a symbol of industrialism in a way. Here we were in America building the biggest bridges, not in England anymore.
Always fascinating to see how timeless some of these issues are.
The more things change, the more things stay the same.
All right, I'm Steve Lacey.
And I'm Natasha Berman. We'll see you next time right here on Fox 5.